Namo Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Tonight is September 1st, 2020. It is 8:26 p.m. in Washington State, which is also California time. There were some errands needed to be done, so I was 25 minutes late. Like I had announced this morning, I will have an online Dharma retreat where I can answer some questions sent by Buddhist followers to ask about Ullambana event. At dawn of tomorrow, 6 a.m., we will be reciting Sharangama mantra. Today is the full moon day of the 7th month of the lunar calendar. It is truly the official Ullambana Ceremony. Tonight, we set aside an hour and a half to 2 hours to answer questions regarding filial descendants paying back to the parents and to their deceased ancestors. I will focus on questions that relate to praying for peace and praying for wandering souls. Now, I invite you to listen to the question. Dear Venerable Thich Lai, we are some Buddhist followers whom follow the side of Theravada Buddhism for a long time. Recently, we predestined to hear the Dharma preaching of yours, Venerable. We are very impressed to see that Venerable often answers the questions straightly instead of avoiding like other Buddhist monks. Today we have a question regarding submitting the scrolls to pay for the deceased relatives and wandering souls. In the past, Buddha did not have these customs, and we study the scriptures of Theravada Buddhism and haven't seen these customs either. So where did the custom of praying for deceased and wandering souls come from? Is it from Buddhism or is it not? Perhaps when Buddhism migrated to China, it was manipulated by the Chinese Buddhist monk. And praying for the deceased and wandering souls ceremony, does it bring any benefits to the dead? How many of you in here have been studying the history of Buddhism? Do you see if any disciples of the Buddha at the time request to pray for the dead? Do you see that Master Wei, Du Wei, Yu Zhang? Do you see it or not? Not at all. But you can see clearly that every time you recite the Earth-Stored Sutra, as we see that the precursor of Earth-Stored Bodhisattva were bright eye. Do you agree? Another precursor of him was a Brahmin female. In the Earth-Stored Sutra, there were 3 precursors of Earth-Stored Bodhisattva. Thus, page 22 of the sutra said the Brahmin female has saved her mother. Then page 42 and page 153 was about Lady Bright Eye saving her mother. Lady Bright Eye was the closest resemblance for us. Was Bright Eye born in the end of Dharma or the doctrine of Dharma? Lady Bright Eye was born in the ending of Dharma. There was a blessed arhat traveling to save sentient beings. Is our time now the ending of Dharma, or is it the correct Dharma? It is the ending Dharma. We have to analyze step by step to see how Lady Bright Eye prayed to save her mother at that time. Let me then extract a section of the Earth Stored Sutra. For Buddhist followers who are listening via the internet, please open to page 153. We cannot use the correct Dharma age to compare. We see Lady Bright Eye as one of the precursors of the earth-stored Bodhisattva during the ending Dharma age. Let me open page 153 and read for the people who doesn't have the sutra. As for those who have already recited the sutra, you already know section 4 of the Earth Stored Sutra is about Lady Bright Eye saving her mother. Another time, limitless as Kiyam Kayaya, eons ago, a Buddha named Pure Lotus Eye, Tathagata, appeared in the world. His lifespan was 40 eons. In his Dharma image age, an arhat who had blessings from rescuing beings met a woman named Bright Eye who offered a meal to him. Once a while, he was teaching and transforming beings. "What is your wish?" asked the arhat. Bright Eye replied, "On the day of my mother's death, I perform meritorious deeds for her rescue. But I did not know where my mother is now." Sympathizing with her, the arhat entered into Terambati to contemplate and saw that Bright Eye's mother had fallen into a bad destiny where she was going extreme suffering. The arhat asked, "Bright Eyes, what karma did your mother commit while she was alive that makes her now having to undergo such terrible suffering in a bad destiny?" Bright Eye replied, "My mother enjoyed eating fish, turtles, and those like that. She especially likes to fry and boil the eggs of the fish and turtles. Every time she ate those, she took hundreds of lives. Oh, Venerable One, please be compassionate and tell me how she can be saved." The arhat took pity on Bright Eyes and used a skillful means. He urged Bright Eyes and said, "With sincere resolve, be mindful of pure lotus eyes, thus come one, and also make carved and painting images of him. By doing so, both the living and the dead will be rewarded." It was clear that when Bright Eyes saw the arhat during the ending Dharma, she made the offering to the arhat. After receiving offering, the arhat then asked what she wanted. She then said that she wanted to know where her mother was after she had passed away. The arhat did not ask for her mother's name at all. Did you see that? No, he didn't even ask that question. He just meditated and entered Samadhi. Once the meditation was done, the arhat asked what the mother did when she was alive that made her imprisoned in hell. The Brahmin lady said that her mother mainly ate fish and killed many fishes when she was alive. In the ending Dharma age, the arhat did not ask the Brahmin lady to buy anything for offering. She only asked to recite and pray the pure lotus eye Buddha with sincerity. Then the dead would get many benefits. You see clearly that the arhat did not ask for her mother's name at all. But the reason for this is because he already had the divine eyes. Do you think the arhat have divine eyes? Yes, they do. However, in this ending Dharma age, do you think the mundane monks now have divine eyes? Not at all. So, the name must be written on a praying scroll. The arhat had the divine eye and the 6 transcendental powers, so he did not need to ask for the name. He only asked what the mother did when she was alive that made her suffer in hell. He knew that because he meditated and entered Samsachi. Let me quote another part of the Ullambana Sutra for us to compare. I am sure some of you in here already recited the Sutra of Ullambana before. Is that right? However, there are points that you might not have recognized. This morning, there was a group of young Buddhist followers who spoke English. They often went into my Facebook page and listened to my preaching in English and study. This particular group liked to read sutra ahead of time before I preached about it. Then they will have questions like this. They say that according to the Ullambana Sutra, only the rich can save their deceased parents. The poor people could not because the offering required 100 dishes of food and 5 colored fruits. How can the poor find 100 items to make this offering? So only the rich can afford to do so. This group also raised another question regarding Maggaliputta. They knew that Maggaliputta was the Buddhist disciple who have the most transcendental powers. He joined the Sangha for a month and had obtained the arhat. Elder Subhutu needed 2 to 3 weeks to obtain arhat. These were great disciples of the Buddha, so they attested to the arhat very quickly. This group of young people knew that at the time the Buddha did not make his followers follow vegetarian diet strictly. Is that correct? Maggaliputta, after taking refuge with the Buddha for about a month, and became an arhat. Then in this period, the Buddha had his followers eat 3 kinds of pure meat. That is, they did not see the animals get slaughtered, did not hear the animals cry as they are getting killed, and they did not suspect that the animals are getting killed either because of them. It was because at that time, the Buddha in his Shangha did not have any pagodas to cook any meals. Whatever people gave alms to them, they would eat that as long as they didn't see the animals getting killed, didn't hear the cries of its dying, and didn't suspect the animals are dead because of them. They called it the 3 pure meat. It was not until the age of 70 that the Buddha taught the Great 8 Nirvana Sutra and said that from there on he forbade his monks to eat meat. The Buddhist followers asked this question, which translated by this gentleman. He was Maggaliputta, attained Arhat level. He should have the divine eye, 6 transcendental powers. I think you and I, if we have the divine eyes, the first thing we will do is look for our parents. Master Tuei, who will look for you if you have the divine eyes? Your parents, of course. That is the common concept of us. If one of these days when I obtain the Arhat level, I will look for my mother to see where she was reborn. So Maggaliputta searched in different realms and saw that his deceased mother had been born among the hungry ghosts. She was having neither food nor drink. She was but just skin and bones. So he prepared food and brought the rice and water to hell for his mother. As soon his mother saw the bowl of rice, she used her right hands to cover the bowl and her left hand to pick up the rice to eat. She covered the rice because she was selfish and afraid other hungry ghosts will take it. The rice turned into a burning coal before she could even put it in her mouth. I want to emphasize the reason she was born as hungry ghost was because of her selfishness. It was also because of her selfishness that she couldn't eat the rice. This group of people had the following questions. Being in Arhat, Maggaliputta should have known the hungry ghosts eat different foods to compare to humans. Why would he bring human food for his mother who was trapped in hell? And if his mother could eat the human food, why have we not seen our deceased relatives come back to when we perform the memorial ceremony for the dead? These are the points that the young people wondered. We are the older generation. Whatever we read are from scriptures. We just believe that. However, these young people in the United States have these unclear points. They want to know that humans eat food differently to hungry ghosts. Why wouldn't our head bring human rice to hell for his mother? They sent these questions and asked me to explain. And the second point they want to address was when the mother couldn't eat, the Maggaliputta came back to ask the Buddha for help. The Buddha said, even though Maggaliputta was the greatest disciple with magical powers, but he alone couldn't save his mother. His mother was deeply guilty, so he had to rely on the divine power of the monk from the 10 directions. This group of young people said in the Buddhist scriptures that Buddha had 4 things that cannot be done. One of them was the Buddha that couldn't erase the karma of others. The Buddha also couldn't help people who are not predestined with him. And he couldn't pass on his wisdoms to others. Those are the things that cannot be done by the Buddha. However, the Buddha told Maggaliputta that it was possible to save his mothers with the power of the Shangha. This morning I talked briefly about this. First of all, we need to know the reason his mother was condemned in hell. In the previous life, Maggaliputta's name was Labak. The Chinese scholar translated as La Bak. He cultivated in a way that made his mother hated the monks. Her religion was also Brahmin. So one day she pretended that she adored the monks and asked Labak to invite the monks to come over to accept her offerings. She made steamed bun with dog meat to offer to the monks. Did you know that? Because making the steamed buns with dog meat, so she was guilty to the monks from the 10 directions, not the Buddha. Then the Buddha said that even though Maggaliputta possessed the divine power, but he could not save his mother. Not even the 4 heavenly kings, the gods of heaven, even the demons of all kinds, could save his mother. Maggaliputta had to rely on the divine powers of the monk from the 10 directions. That is the point I want to emphasize here. And the young people asked why the Buddha could not do it, but the monks from the 10 directions could. Because according to the law of cause and effect, his mother committed injustice with the Shangha of the 10 directions. She then had to repent with the Shangha from the 10 directions. If the monk from the 10 directions forgive her, her karma would be resolved. Do you agree with me? Was that the conflict with the law of cause and effect? No, it was not. Even though the Buddha is powerful, but the power of the monk from the 10 directions is still stronger. In the past, Buddha's mother-in-law, which was his aunt who raised the Buddha since he was 7 days old, because Queen Maya passed away to heaven after she finished giving birth to the Buddha. The Buddha's aunt sewed a very beautiful golden silk robe to offer to the Buddha. When she presented it to the Buddha, he said, that making offerings to a Buddha was very good and have great merits, but she should have offered to the Shangha. The merit would have been limitless. At that time, she asked the Buddha for the reason. The Buddha replied that a Buddha doesn't have as much divine power compared to the holy monks from the 10 directions. The Buddha told his aunt to cut the robe into 1,250 pieces and give them to all the monks who made handkerchiefs, and she would have more blessing. That is what the Buddha said, not me. So the young Buddhist followers wondered what the Buddha said during the ending Dharma, so it would be impossible to find a holy monk. And how could they find 1,250 holy monks to make offerings to these monks, such as offering the robes, offering food, offering 100 different dishes, and 5 colored fruits to save their deceased parents? They asked a very good question. They also say that in the Earth Stored Sutra, it also mentioned about the instant hell. There is no internet at the youth center, so I have to write down these questions from my phone. Please wait a minute for me to open page 42. They said page 42 is very suitable for this ending Dharma age. Those of you at home with the Earth Stored Sutra, please take out page 42 for me to analyze. I will slowly go into the contents of this section. Page 42 says this: any demons, ghosts, and gods who commit sins would be punished in hell. Don't you agree? Then in the Ullambana Sutra says whether there are sentient beings who waste the assets of the temple, or the monks and nuns who fall in love and make lust in the temple, or hurt and kill, these sentient beings will be punished in hell for eons. Dear Venerable, in Vietnam, now there are many monks who would bring prostitutes into the temple, and they do it. Do you think it is true? So if my parents go to the temple to ask these monks for blessing, will my parents be reborn at the blissful realm? Or there are sentient beings pretending to be monks to waste the temple's asset, violate the precepts, and deceive the ordinary people, and create many sins. The communist police disguise to be the Buddhist monk. Meanwhile, they still accept the praying scrolls for the dead and organizing Ullambana Ceremony. So the Buddhist followers who are going to these temples will be reborn in the blissful land or not. The Earth Stored Sutra said that these people will be punished in the instant hell. Then how will they bless our deceased grandparents? That group of young Buddhist followers quoted from that passage to ask the question. Have you ever recited the passage in the Earth Stored Sutra? If there are sentient beings who waste the assets of the temple, violate the precepts, deceive the ordinary people, and creating many sins, those people must be punished in the instant hell for eons. Meanwhile, Do these people organize a Ullambana ceremony or not? Do they have performed praying ceremony or not? So now the Buddhist followers who are going to these temples, while the abbot himself is already predestined to be in hell, according to the Earth Sword Sutra. Those of you who submit the praying skulls for deceased relatives, do you see these or not? At that moment, these monks have been punished because they still have not have blessing from previous lives remain. But when these blessings run out in this human life, they will be condemned. These young people asked me to answer openly. This group of people asked very well. They say that these questions are not answered by other temples. They have been told not to worry about these, but should be focusing on cultivating. Don't ask anything that offend the monks and nuns, because that will put them into hell. Obviously, other temples did not answer this question. Only Master Thong LAI will answer these questions and these types of questions. Without their questions, I will not talk about these topics. But since they have asked, I have to answer. We have to consider 3 issues. First is that in Buddha time, there are no strictly vegetarian diet. Meanwhile, this passage requests to prepare the vegetarian dishes. That is not true of the original Buddhist scriptures. These young people follow Theravada Buddhism and practice meditation. They happened to listen to my Dharma talk and decided to ask me. They had asked many temples, but no one dared to answer. They asked if there was the Chinese monk change the scriptures against Buddha's will. Please listen to the Buddhist teaching now. They screenshot the passage and asked me to further explain. After Maggaliputta did all sorts of things that could not save his mother, then Buddha told him on the full moon of the 7th month, also known as Paranavera. What is the Paranavera? In Buddha's time, his monks traveled everywhere. Every summer, from the full moon of April to the full moon of July, was the rainy season. The Buddha was afraid his Shangha, which was 1,250 bhikkhus with thousands of layman people, would step and kill many insects. So the Buddha requests his Shangha to stay inside the monastery for the full moon in April to the full moon in July. The Paranavera day was the day when summer retreat has ended. At that time, there were many people who obtained Arhat, or 1 to the 4 levels of saint, or some could enter Samadhi. Under Buddha's supervision, the Shangha cultivated meticulously, so the merits were unspeakable. At that time, those who want to pay filial piety to their deceased parents would bring clothes, necessary items, and food to make offerings. This passage said on the full moon of July, which was the Panavarana, these monks from 10 directions attended this ceremony in the Jetavana garden, which offered by the billionaire Anantapindaka and Prince Jeta. All the offering must be completely completely prepared, and not to be late. The Buddha said not to be late for the full moon of the 7th month. Is it possible to prepare 100 different meals and 5 colored fruits? Well, I don't think anyone in here can make 100 different dishes of food. When I was a kid, I was very sad after I read this part, for I was very poor and wondered how could I save my mother's soul. If Buddhism is a religion of equalness, why only the rich can help but not the poor? I think this passage was not Buddha's idea. I want to tell the young people of Buddhist followers that this passage was not from the Buddha. Let me ask you this. Elder Kasyapa vowed to accept offerings from the poor or rich. It's from the poor. He said that he was born in a rich family, and he said the rich had too much blessing already. For example, if Bill Gates donates or gives alms, he would receive blessing and gain a few $1 billion, which doesn't do any good for him. Don't you think? But the poor need more blessings so they can be rich. That was the reason he begged food for the poor only. Apparently, in the Buddha's history, there was a beggar woman. She begged and received half a bowl of spoiled rice porridge. People ate half a bowl and would give her their other leftover half. Elder Kasyapa asked the old woman if she wanted to sell her property or not. The old woman said that if there are people who would buy the property, she would sell it. He answered yes. He was the only one that would buy her property. He said that she did not give alms in her previous life, so in this life she was poor. The old woman replied that she had nothing to offer to him except her half bowl of spoiled porridge. Elder Kasyapa asked her to give him the spoiled porridge. After he finished the porridge, he prayed and dedicated the merit to her. When she passed away, she was then sent to heaven. That was the Buddha's time. Elder Kasyapa did not ask for 100 different kinds of food and 5 different colored fruits, right? So you can see clearly that the offering is from the heart, and whether the recipient truly appreciates the food or not. And if the recipient had cultivated meticulously to dedicate the merit for the givers. I have a very clear example for you to understand. Let's say you borrow money from someone who doesn't have any debt. For example, I borrow money from Min Hua and has $500,000 in the bank. He is ready to lend the money without a big loss. However, if Min Hua still has a mortgage, car debt, and because of the pandemic, he couldn't work, I now borrow money from him. He will be even in more debt. The ancient only monks had great merits, so they were willing to dedicate their merits to the lay people who came to make offerings. As for the monk in current time, they still owe to their country, their parents, their followers, and farmers. They are already in debt and didn't contribute or fulfill their duties to their country. They did not fulfill their obligation to their parents nor their family. They took refuge in the temple and owe more than their followers. So they will be deeper in debt. I want to answer the passage of 100 different dishes and 5 colored fruits were only for rich people. The passage was modified by the sutra translator, not in accordance with Buddha's will. I am sure that Buddha never asked his followers to offer objects. The Buddha would want us to do with a sincere mind. An older woman who have only 1 coin, and she donated her coin. That is her entire fortune. A little kid who has 5 coins from the lucky money at New Year's, and one person has 5 million. People who have millions of dollars donate $10,000. How many percent are they? And the little ones that has 5 coins and offer you 3 coins. That is more than half of his fortune. So the offering depends on what you possess. Don't be mistaken. I endorse this passage from the Chinese side. When the Chinese monk translated, they want the 100 dishes of food and 5 colored fruits. In my opinion, this passage was not Buddha's idea. Do you agree with me or not? The Buddha was very equal. The Buddha also criticized Elder Subatu from receiving alms from the rich only, and Elder Kasayaba for receiving alms from the poor only. These actions were not the essence of Buddhism. So the person who became a Buddha must have the nature of equality. Don't you agree? Equality of mindfulness is the only thing to turn into intellectuals. Again, in the Ullambana Sutra, the passage of food with 100 dishes and 5 colored fruits was not from the Buddha's scripture, but was translated from Chinese scholar modification when they were translated to Vietnamese. Here is the next passage. Have to buy the bed and the mattress. That is not Buddha's words either. At that time, Buddha only allowed his monks to have 3 robes, a water filter, and a cushion for meditation, right? Besides that, the Buddha were not allowed to have anything else. Having 4 robes was already breaking the precepts. In this passage, asked to buy the bed and mattress. I don't think this is Buddha's will. The Buddha is a noble prince who practiced simplicity. Have you ever seen the Buddha lay in a bed? After he was done with his work, did the Buddha lay on a bed? No. He spread the robe on the ground and then lay on it. So in the passage of buying the bed and mattress, this is not Buddha's will. But that was translated from the idea from Chinese to Vietnamese. Perhaps at that time, these monks had old beds and mattresses, and they wanted newer beds to sleep on. So they added this sentence. And if the Buddha's followers see that, they would buy the new bed for offerings. From now on, I have to sleep on the ground because the Buddhist followers won't offer any bed or mattresses for me because I have spoken the truth. Do you agree or not? At that time, the Buddha was only allowed his monks to sleep at the graveyard and only sleep for 3 nights. After that, they had to go somewhere else. If they slept on the 4th night, they started planting trees and grass. They might even look for cats to chase the mouse. And some even have a cow for milk to drink. Do you agree with me that that is not Buddha's will? 100 dishes of food and 5 colored fruits was not the idea of the Buddha. It was Chinese monks' idea to alternate during translation. Oh my God, the Buddha did not allow to have more than 3 robes, a bowl, a water filter, and a meditation cushion. So how is it possible for him to ask for a bed and mattress? The following passage was also not from Buddha's will either. Need to prepare the burner basin and tub for incense and fragment. That was definitely the Chinese monks' add-on. I don't think it was from the Buddha. The Buddha would not have asked for any burner basin or tub. And the Buddha did not have any lamp or torch at that time. Absolutely not. There was no cooking at that time. What was the need for a burner? Absolutely not. The food must clean and store in a bowl for sincere offering. I agree with the clean food. In the earth-stored scripture, it is said that the offerings such as rice and vegetables are said not to be spilled on the ground. If the food are not clean, the almsgivers will not receive merit. This is said in the Earth Sword Sutra. I think the sentence of the food must be clean and stored in a bowl for sincere offering. That is a correct Buddha's idea. Brahmanta of the 10 directions eat the clean food. In the past, people call monks who obtain any arhat levels as Bharantama or Reverend. In the modern time, people ordain each as Bharanta for the novice monks. These monks who cultivate for a long time is called as Varnable. In the assembly, they obtained the reverend seat behind the Varnable. But during Buddha's time, Bharantama was a higher monk. Did you know that Buddha called Anang as Brahmantama Anang? Back then, Varnable was simply the very old men, so they sat on the front. There were many Varnables who did not obtain any arhat level. However, in our time, people assume those who cultivate for a long time are known as Varnable or most Varnable. But in the past, the Buddhist scripture called them as Bharanta because they could hold ethics and mortality.